All right, so let's jump into our next question. So this is from Demetri. I need some job advice. I love doing risky, fun startup projects. I've worked on a few tech startups, helped underground artists produce new work, et cetera. But by its nature, these jobs are in risky environments, and I'll admit I have not yet picked winners. For example, I worked for one startup for 8 months that had the same idea as Polymarket, but they got there first and then weren't able to secure funding, and the crypto market crashed, man. So it sounds like he's at this place where he's like, my picker's off. I don't even trust myself. I'm proud of the work we did, but I'm not sure how to get a normal job and explain away these 6+ jobs in 5 years in very different roles. I'm a good leader, generalist, and have experience in tons of fields, but my resume just looks like I got fired 8 times when that's not what happened. I get it. Man, first of all, resumes suck, don't they? It's like you're supposed to put your entire life on a piece of paper and someone's supposed to believe you. I can explain it well in an interview, I think, but I'm scared my resume won't get me on that stage. In startup land, I'm used to marketing founders or early team members and going right to an impromptu interview. Getting a real job through LinkedIn or whatever seems so weird and bureaucratic by comparison. And I know I'm qualified to do good work, but feel like I don't look that way on an application. Help. All right, let's help Demetri. Let's help Demetri get a job.
What's interesting is if he was in his 20s, mm-hmm. I wouldn't even be worried about the perceived risk level.
Sure.
They talk about how your 20s are your learning years.
Right.
I agree. Now, if you're in like 40s, 50s, and you've worked at 30 startups and you're broke or bankrupt and you have a family to take care of, maybe a different answer. But if you're single, you're in your 20s, and you feel like you need to go get a normal job, the first thing I have to ask is, who's making you feel like you need to go get a normal job?
Yeah. And what is a normal job?
And what is normal?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people that work normal jobs who are miserable.
Right.
And the pain associated with their comfort is great.
Right.
So do you like the pain of risk that might achieve something great? Or do you like the pain of normal that really won't achieve anything great?
Yeah.
That's the question I think you have to answer. Because if you're still in your 20s or even your early 30s, I don't know why you wouldn't continue to go for whatever your dream is.
Sure.
It comes back to a very simple principle, which is regret minimization, which is, if I'm 80 years old, which choice will I regret more? Will I regret the normal job choice at this stage of my life? Or will I regret that I have this 1 or 2 more things I want to try to see if I can make it work? And will I regret that if I don't do that? That's a simple one. The other thing is, what are you optimizing for?
Sure.
Because there's a couple learnings going on here. One, you might just be a bad picker, like you're talking. Maybe you're just like, maybe I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to pick, right? The idea seems good, but there's no product market fit. Or there's product market fit, but maybe we're a little too early. Or it's a great idea, great product, or great service, and we don't have enough money to make it happen. There's all kinds of reasons that startups can fail. A lot of startups fail. But there may be something that you do need to ask, which is, are you a career type person or are you an entrepreneurial type person? And this is an important one because I'm going to tell you, there's a couple of traits of the entrepreneurial type person that are absolutely required. When you look at the most successful people in the world who have launched great startups or failed at a couple and then launched a big one or whatever, there's a 2-part trait that all of them have.
Yeah.
They have what I call the act and adapt trait. Once they know what they're supposed to do, they act at the outset. And when they meet resistance, rejection, or bad facts along the way, they adapt. They don't quit. They don't avoid. They don't pivot.
Yeah.
They have the act and adapt trait. So one of the things he needs to ask himself is, does he have the act and adapt trait? When he knows he needs to do something, does he act at the outset? When he meets resistance or failure or rejection, does he adapt or does he avoid? Does he pull back? Does he give up? Does he seek the pivot? And if he is, because there's 3 types. There's either avoid at the outset, that's type number 1. There's act at the outset and avoid at resistance, that's type 2. And then there's type 3, there's the act and adapt type. And to be a successful entrepreneur over a long period of time, you have to have the act and adapt trait. If you're not the 3rd type, you either have to become the 3rd type or you need to look at a different route. Now, for those who are just avoid at the outset, they struggle in both the career life and the entrepreneurial life.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is people who have kind of like the act and avoid tendency, they can still be successful in a career because the motivation or the need, the template is already defined. It's already defined for them. So if you have the act and adapt trait and you're in your 20s or your early 30s and you still have a dream that you haven't gone after, I would say go after that. Of course, caveat, first of all, discover your exact purpose. What is the best that you have to offer to the world? And whatever that big dream is, whatever that next tech idea is, whatever it is, you've got to align it with the best of what you've got, because that's going to be the area in which you're going to sacrifice the most, because that's what's required to be successful.
I hate when people think the last 5 years of their life dictates their value. The truth is that it doesn't matter whether you were at a startup or you move into a company or corporate job, you go out on your own. It doesn't matter, because everything comes down to solving problems. You could be a barista or the president of the United States. Your job, you are getting paid to solve problems for other people. So in this instance, Demetri's trying to figure out what's next for him, and he's frustrated that he's jumped into startup after startup that maybe didn't work out. What problems have you learned to solve for other people? And how can you package that for your next opportunity? Again, whether you're going out on your own or you're working for somebody else. The more clear you're on how you solve problems for other people and what types of problems you solve, the more value you're going to bring. The more value you bring, the more money you're going to make, and ultimately the more fulfilled that you're going to be at the end of the day. So in this instance, I think Demetri just needs to stop looking in the past and saying, what does my resume say about me? And start thinking about, who am I now? What problems can I solve for other people? And then how do I position myself as being indispensable to that company? One of my favorite things to do, and we see this even with people who want to come and work for us in our company, is they solve problems before they're hired. They come to us with ideas. They ideate. They show that even if you haven't hired me to your team yet, I'm already adding value. So Demetri, don't wait for the interview to add value. Add value before the interview. Start sending the recruiters insights and information. Start sending them selfie videos and text messages like you're sending us right now, just to add value, to say, hey, I've been thinking about this. Have you guys thought about this? How can you add value? That's how you differentiate. Don't let a piece of paper define you. Let the way that you add value to the world, let that be the thing that defines you.
I think an interesting question that you and I ask people all the time, ask individuals all the time. I would ask Demetri this same question, which is, in your entire entrepreneurial career, risk-ridden history, what was your most fulfilled day?
Sure.
What was your most fulfilled day? You put your head down on the pillow and you're like, that day, that was amazing. Who were you helping? What problem were you solving? And what solution were you delivering? Because what was fulfilling to you in the past is usually a really good leading indicator of what will be fulfilling to you in the future. And if you've got like 5 or 8 startups that you've worked at, I guarantee you've had multiple fulfilling moments where even if that thing didn't work out in the end, there was something fulfilling that happened at each one of them. But the singular focusing question is, what was the most fulfilling day? What problem was I solving? What person was I serving? What solution was I delivering?